what I want to report on is a survey we, as a project, conducted among teachers in many countries of Europe. And I think this is a prelude to what Gregory will be speaking on tomorrow in the plenary lecture. So these are statistical data who we asked, who answered to our questions. There were actually more answers, but we sorted out those which were not very relevant for the questions we asked. And let me now tell you what kind of questions we asked. So the first claim which comes from the survey is that the program, which seems quite obvious, what you teach should influence the design of the school and the design of classroom, and not the other way around. We shouldn't adopt with all force to what's there, because in many cases it's possible to change. Of course, existing schools are there and we will not demolish them immediately. We will not demolish them even in the coming 20 years, but we can adopt them to answer more to demands. And one of these demands, growing demand, not only on the side of administration, but also on the side of students themselves, is to learn something which has practical meaning, which is useful, and which is interdisciplinary. For this, you need space for collaborative work, you need space for projects, you need space for 2 teachers being, or maybe 3 teachers being in one room. One comment to these numbers which appear here, they are not in person, these are absolute numbers, so that's why you see 93 say it's true and 23 say it's false. It's okay because there were around 130 people involved in the survey, so the numbers sum to the number of answers. These are not as person. Okay, so the conclusion of the first result is that what we teach should influence the environment in which we teach, not the other way around. Because if it's other way around, then we will stay in the place. We will always decide same classes, same schools, and so on. You see here people also, and these are, let me stress it again, these are teachers in many countries all over the Europe. So at least in 7 countries, we made these surveys, and they strongly all agree that the classroom layout should be aligned with outcomes of the STEAME program, or the STEAME curriculum, of the blended learning. And sometimes these changes can be done very easily. For example, you have, in a typical classroom, you have 1 blackboard in the front. Even if this is fancy whiteboard with some electronic in it, it's still 1 in the front, which somehow defines the place for the teacher. The teacher is there in the front, and you listen, like you listen to me now. And this is not what we want, or not what we want all the time. We want some space for students to work, maybe on blackboards, maybe on whiteboards, maybe on flip charts if there is no space for whiteboards. And you can easily introduce these vertical working spaces in each classroom. If you think for a minute, you can actually use windows to write on them, with pens which you use for the whiteboard, because you can remove them easily from class. So just be creative, look around what you can easily adopt. And the next question was pretty obvious to answer, but we were surprised by the big number of answers which we got, which agree that the furniture should also help somehow to reorganize the classroom. If you have big tables where big number of students is sitting, then it's not easy to adopt to new tasks and to new projects. So the furniture should be thought carefully about how it should look like, and I think we will get some large-scale ideas in Gregory's talk tomorrow. And these ideas in a small scale, they can be used to do practice, to let it happen in the practice. Okay, the next question was if STEAME learning can be also only performed in schools which are particularly designed for this kind of learning. This was a provocative question, and of course, it's very useful if there are new schools with a new infrastructure which are thought for this kind of learning. But it's possible also in schools which exist, and what's really important is that they have flexible structure. Because who knows, maybe in 30 years we will have another idea which brings some progress, and we will then need to adapt to this. And if the classrooms, if the spaces are flexible, if the furniture is flexible, then we can use it. So these are the results. Many people think if you teach in STEAME modules, or if you want students to study in STEAME modules, you need to provide them space which is designed particularly for these modules. I think this is not completely what we agreed in the group working on the project, but this is what comes from teachers. So they prefer to do this in the rooms which are actually designed for this purpose. Okay, and then this was maybe the most important part of the whole survey. We asked for ideas. So we asked some questions whether they say yes, or I agree, or I don't agree. But we also asked for some ideas, and I will not read now these ideas because it's too long and it's boring if you read from the slide. But I noticed that the meeting is recorded, so you can come back to the recording and just go through the list. This is also available on our webpage, which is steame.eu. So that there is, of course, a lot of material more which you can use if you think about implementing STEAME learning, in particular STEAME learning creativity plans and so on. So this is just tomorrow will reflect. Yes. So that's why I'm not going through this. And then we ask also, should we use this new nomenclature? Not the lessons, not the curriculum, but as I said, learning and creativity plans. Should we design space for discovery-based learning or for project-based learning and so on? And many people agree there should be separate space, but I think the real outcome of this question is also that we should be flexible. This is the most important part. We should be flexible. We should use what's there, because before new schools will be built, this will take time. And we should think about all these possible implementations of the learning and teaching strategies. Okay, then there are some more specific questions. I will not go over all of them. The slides will be also available. And then there are specific ideas. So we ask questions in large scale, in the scale of school. And then we ask also what should happen in the classrooms. And I think what Professor Makrides will speak about tomorrow is in the large scale, the scale of schools. So this is really impressive what we will see. And next we ask about the organization. So what seems very important for these people, for this audience we address, which consisted mostly of teachers, but not only, as I showed you in the beginning, is that students should be given some place to study among themselves. So not only classrooms, but maybe classrooms which you can divide in smaller place, maybe some round tables somewhere, some working booths or whatever you call it. But students need to be among themselves, to be safe, not held by the teacher all the time, to exchange freely ideas, and out of these ideas some will be adopted in the projects they work on, and they will be presented. And then there is, of course, time for the teacher to reflect. Okay, so what would help to these activities of students is partly listed here, and we have also booklets which contain more ideas. So I just wanted to highlight some of the ideas, and then we ask again about this in a sense this is a control question. What I'm talking about now, about the design of schools and classrooms, and if they should be devoted to specific type of training, specific type of education, specific type of learning. Okay, all these answers and results, they show that there must be the word creativity. How can you be creative if you sit always in the same way, organized classroom, and nothing changes in your environment? There should be some changes so that you have to adopt, so that you have to think out of the box, or go out of the usual path. And the organization of schools should support this. And then there is a big question, and we actually started a project month ago about the big question: should you use technology? To what extent should you use technology? And in fact, in schools, students have a lot of technology in form of their smartphones. I think we don't need computer labs anymore, because what they bring with their smartphones is much more powerful, and this is something they know. They don't need to learn new, and this always works, because this is something they carry forward. The smartphone works is very important for them. So no crashes, no problems with the system, and so on. But this is maybe for the other presentation, so I will finish here. Thank you very much.